Lucille was thrilled as he rushed to tell his boss the good news. He finally managed to get a meeting with a client, but his excitement didn't last long. The meeting went terribly, leaving him feeling crushed and doubting himself. Despite the failure, Lucille refused to give up. He believed there were many more clients to meet, and he was determined to reach his goals no matter how tough it got. Soon after, his boss approved his plan, filling him with relief. He worked hard, and after many challenging weeks, he finally met his targets. Lucille felt an overwhelming joy, knowing he was closer to the promotion he had dreamed about. He was ready to celebrate his achievements. However, on his way back, chaos broke out nearby. People started screaming, and he saw a man running from the police. Before Lucille could react, the man tripped and accidentally fired a gun. A sharp pain hit Lucille's chest, and everything went dark. His last thought was disbelief. This couldn't be how it ended. In the darkness, Lucille heard a mysterious voice offering him a second chance in a new world called Gardia, a place filled with magic and monsters. Confused but curious, Lucille accepted. Suddenly, he found himself standing under a sky where a dragon flew above. He looked down at his simple, rustic clothes. His old business suit was gone. The voice told him to say, "Status open." And when he did, a game-like menu appeared, showing his name and new abilities. Feeling excited, Lucille picked skills like Assess Mastery, Martial Arts, and Magic Control. Ready to start this new journey, he walked towards a bustling city full of people. At the city gate, he realized he didn't have any identification. Thinking quickly, he explained he was a healer from a small village looking to train in the city. Just then, a girl named Lumina appeared and offered to help. She guided him through the city streets to the Healers Guild. The place was lively, filled with people and energy. Lucille nervously filled out his registration form with his details and handed it to the attendant, Kuru. As he waited, he observed everything around him, eager to learn about this new world. Kuru soon returned with a test for him. She gave him a crystal and asked him to channel his magic into it. Lucille's heart raced. This was his first chance to see if he could use magic. Concentrating hard, he focused on his skill, Magic Control. To his amazement, the crystal glowed warmly, showing he had some power. Kuru noted his holy magic ability, making Lucille hopeful, but also nervous since he had no formal training. Lucille decided to try a basic healing spell. He took a deep breath, focused his energy, and called out, "Heal!" But nothing happened. Frustrated but determined, he reminded himself that he was just beginning. He tried again, this time sensing a small movement of magic inside him. It drained his energy quickly, so he knew he needed to practice more. From then on, Lucille created a new routine for himself. He practiced his magic in small bursts, resting in between. Each little success boosted his confidence. He wasn't just dreaming of a new life. He was building one step by step. His goal was clear: to master his magic and make a difference in this new world. As he was deep in thought, Monica, another guild attendant, brought him some food and reminded him to take care of himself. Her kindness felt comforting in this unfamiliar place. Lucille felt a spark of hope. He was on his way to a fresh start filled with magic, challenges, and endless possibilities. Lucille took a deep breath and focused hard, feeling the magic flow inside him. He closed his eyes and concentrated, calling upon his power. A warm light began to glow from his hands as he cast a healing spell. Within moments, the wound in front of him disappeared completely. Lucille opened his eyes and felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over him. He had finally succeeded. Nearby, Monica watched and gave him a cheerful clap. It was clear he had mastered the healing spell. But then, she held out her hand with a cheeky smile, asking for a silver coin as payment. Lucille, a bit confused but amused, quickly handed over the coin. Before he could ask what was next, Monica seemed to realize something. She gasped and returned the coin right away, apologizing. Lucille had been sent by Luminasan, and everything had already been arranged for him to stay in the room for 10 days. Lucille was amazed at how respected Luminasan seemed to be. He learned that she was the captain of a new female paladin group in the church. He felt grateful to have met such a powerful ally. Just as he was about to leave, a loud voice called out to him. It was Bazan and his group of adventurers, the same rough-looking men he had met before. Lucille quickly bowed, apologizing if he had caused any trouble earlier. Bazan's friend joked around, making the atmosphere lighter. Suddenly, a young adventurer rushed in, looking tired and beat up. He ran straight to Bazan, explaining that they had made a big mistake on a mission. Bazan's expression turned serious, and he scolded them for taking dangerous tasks as beginners, but it was clear he was more worried than upset. Watching this unfold, Lucille couldn't help but think about the situation of healers in this world. He remembered Monica's warning that the Healers Guild no longer had full control over clinics or individual healers. This motivated Lucille even more to make a difference as a trustworthy healer. He was ready to help people and prove his worth. He was called to help a group of injured adventurers. He took a deep breath, his nerves making his magic feel unsteady at first. He struggled, but with focus and determination, he managed to calm himself down. Slowly, the wounds of the adventurers began to heal under the warm light of his spell, and the look of relief on their faces made it all worth it. Feeling drained from using so much magic, Lucille nearly collapsed, lying down to catch his breath. The adventurers thanked him sincerely, grateful for his help. Later that night, as he lay in bed, Lucille thought about everything that had happened. He realized there was so much he still needed to learn. If he wanted to become a strong healer, he needed more training and to improve his skills. The next morning, Lucille arrived at the Adventurers Guild, filled with excitement. It was a lively place, bustling with people from all over. At the registration desk, a friendly rabbit girl named Nanela helped him sign up. She explained the rules. Lucille could earn money by taking requests but could face penalties if he failed. Hearing this, Lucille felt determined to give it his best effort. Nanela introduced him to Broad, the guild's chief instructor, who agreed to train him in martial arts in exchange for healing services. This was exactly what Lucille needed, a chance to learn how to defend himself. Broad explained that Lucille would get a small wage, with the cost of training taken out of it. Lucille left the guild feeling hopeful and ready to prove himself. That evening, Lucille sat alone in his room, thinking about how much he needed to work harder to gain the trust of the guild and become better at magic. Monica brought him his meal and congratulated him on his new journey. Lucille felt a wave of determination wash over him. He knew he was on the right path and was excited to see what the future held. Early the next morning, Lucille returned to the guild, feeling both nervous and excited. The guild was filled with seasoned adventurers, and he could feel their eyes on him, whispering about the new healer in their midst. He ignored the stairs and made his way to the underground training hall, amazed by the wide, open space that was all his for the session. Broad arrived shortly after, looking serious and focused. He warned Lucille that the training would be tough and unforgiving, but this only made Lucille more eager. He knew this was his chance to get stronger. Broad's commands were firm as he put Lucille through a series of movements, pushing him to his limits. Lucille felt the strain with every punch and kick, quickly becoming exhausted. But he pushed through, driven by a sense of satisfaction he hadn't felt before. Broad noticed his determination and kept urging him to move with precision, not just brute force. Lucille listened closely, absorbing every word. When his energy finally ran out, Lucille dropped to the ground, panting but proud of his progress. Broad acknowledged his effort, reminding him that learning to move well was key to survival. Lucille nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He knew he was taking steps toward his goal, even if it was just a small one today. Lucille knew he had to save his healing magic for the adventurers who might need it more than he did. Broad had shared an important lesson about helping anyone in need, and Lucille wanted to follow that advice. Just then, a group of young adventurers approached him. One of them, a girl with an injured arm, explained she had been bitten by a wolf in the forest. Without hesitating, Lucille cast a healing spell. The girl's face lit up with a smile as the pain disappeared. Her friends were amazed, realizing he had really healed her. Seeing their surprise, Lucille understood that many people in town didn't trust healers anymore. He offered his help to anyone else who needed it, and soon a small crowd had gathered. Lucille, though tired, decided to heal them one by one, determined to give his best effort. Brod watched from a distance, amused by the crowd. He told Lucille it was enough and praised him for using his magic so well. Brod suggested that Lucille stay at the guild for training, reassuring him that it would be free and include meals. Lucille couldn't believe his luck. Brod explained that he wanted to help young adventurers survive, and he believed Lucille could make a real difference. Lucille felt a wave of determination, promising himself that he would use his abilities to save as many lives as he could, not just those of adventurers but everyone in need. Brod smiled and said if more healers were like Lucille, the world would be a much better place. Lucille, feeling a bit shy but proud, realized this was a fresh start in a new world. He was ready to grow stronger and face whatever challenges lay ahead. Brod ended the session by telling Lucille that the next month would be filled with intense training. Lucille took a deep breath, feeling both fear and excitement, but he was ready. He knew this was his chance to get stronger and make a difference. He couldn't wait to see what the future held. Lucille shivered as the cold air hit him, but Brod gave him fresh clothes to change into and told him to meet him in the cafeteria. After changing, Lucille grimaced at his old clothes, feeling disgusted by them. Just then, Nanella entered, complimenting Lucille for his work with the adventurers. She offered to wash his clothes, but Lucille hesitated, not wanting her to do it. Nanella reassured him, saying she would take care of it. Later, Brod surprised Lucille with a large meal, telling him it was all for him to eat. Lucille was taken aback, but happily dug in, feeling satisfied after finishing the food. Brod then explained that Lucille would be using a room for rest and would be busy the next day. Despite the early hour, Lucille couldn't sleep and decided to work on improving his skills instead. The next day, Brod introduced Lucille to Gulgar, a tough-looking man who claimed to be the best cook. Gulgar offered Lucille a strange, unappealing drink that was said to boost strength and endurance, though it tasted awful. Lucille hesitated but decided to drink it, enduring the disgusting taste. Shortly after, he felt a surge of energy and excitement, realizing the drink had worked. With renewed energy, Lucille headed off to join Brod, while Gulgar, impressed by Lucille's determination, watched him go. Lucille reflected on his time at the guild, now feeling more confident and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Lucille had been at the Adventurers Guild for almost a week, getting used to the tough training under his instructor Brod. Brod was harsh and relentless, always pushing Lucille to his limits. Though it was exhausting, Lucille stayed determined, wanting to improve his skills. He tried to stay positive, even though the pain was tough, believing that pushing through was part of the process. Lucille eagerly asked for another chance to try again, even though Brod wasn't impressed with his efforts. One day, while healing a cat woman who had been bitten by a were-rat, Lucille noticed how kind the adventurers were to him. Despite being nervous, he treated her for free, treating all injuries equally, no matter the race. He was gaining a reputation for his healing abilities, which made him feel proud. But, as Lucille continued his harsh training routine, he started feeling as though someone was watching him. He confronted Brod about it and learned that the adventurers were worried Lucille might leave since they relied on him for healing. Lucille agreed to stay for a month, but insisted that the watching stop. He even jokingly threatened to make Brod drink a disgusting strength-enhancing potion if he caught anyone spying on him. As the month went on, Lucille began making more connections with the adventurers, including the Catwoman who had thanked him before. He also started focusing on his magic and target practice. But despite the hard work, Lucille realized he had a long way to go. He had yet to master anything, but he was determined to stick it out, telling himself that patience would eventually pay off. Lucille had been working hard, training under Brod for a whole month, but today, her contract with the Adventurers Guild was finally coming to an end. Brod then surprised him by handing over 12 silver coins, a reward for his hard work. Lucille was hesitant, but accepted the gift, realizing it was enough to cover his fees. After his departure, Lucille received a year's worth of payment from Monica to cover his offering. and she assured him he would focus on getting stronger and eventually becoming independent. Broad was waiting for him, and without asking for his permission, he had his adventurer card renewed. Lucille was frustrated but determined to keep moving forward. Later, Broad handed him a book titled Encyclopedia of Low-Level Holy Magic, telling him to study it so he could learn the heal and cure spells needed for his progress as a healer. Lucille, while teasing Broad, promised to work hard from that moment on. But his training was far from easy. Gulgar handed him a drink, Substance X, which he reluctantly drank, grimacing at the taste but vowing to keep going, eager to improve and prove himself. With his strength growing, Lucille felt ready to face whatever came next, even if it meant enduring more discomfort for the sake of progress. Lucille finally gets a break from his busy routine, thanks to Broad's suggestion. At first, he isn't sure how to relax, feeling a bit too used to constant work. Broad offers him a chance to learn about butchering monsters, so Lucille agrees out of curiosity. He heads to the butchery, where he meets Galba, a skilled worker who shows Lucille the process of butchering a large boar. Lucille is amazed by Galba's expertise and begins to understand why Broad sent him there, not just to help but to learn more about handling monsters. Galba explains that knowing weak points of monsters can help Lucille in future battles, especially as a healer. Lucille struggles when it's his turn to butcher a horned rabbit, finding the raw meat and blood uncomfortable. But he manages to get through it and appreciates the hard work involved. Gulgar jokes about Lucille's messy clothes, making him realize how much he takes food for granted. Nanala notices Lucille looks exhausted and reassures him, understanding that the work is tough for beginners. Lucille admits it's harder than he expected and feels the weight of his new life as an adventurer. Later, as Lucille relaxes, he notices his magic training has slowed down and leveling up has become harder, like in a video game. He wonders about Broad's absence, and soon, Nanella, Melina, and Mernell arrive. They explain that Broad asked them to teach him some practical knowledge, like about monsters, crafting, law, religion, and basic medicine. Lucille, though hesitant, chooses to start with law and religion, surprising the group. They explain that Broad wants him to understand the world beyond just fighting. They also share details about their location, Maritoni, and the holy city of Shirul, known for abolishing slavery, which surprises Lucille. As Lucille continues his routine of training, healing, and studying, half a year passes quickly. One day, the guild releases its earnings ranking, and Lucille's guild, the lineage of the White Wolf, is ranked first again. Lucille celebrates with the others, feeling a bit overwhelmed by their excitement. He goes shopping with Nanala, feeling awkward but thankful for her help, though she uses money from Broad to pay for everything. During their shopping trip, they run into Monica, who looks weak and injured. Lucille quickly uses his healing skills and realizes Monica might have been poisoned. She shares a troubling story about a friend who couldn't afford medical treatment and was sold into slavery. Lucille is shocked, believing slavery was illegal in their region. But Nanala explains that mercenaries might be involved, hinting that dark forces still exist, even in places that claim to have abolished such practices. Lucille learns more about the harsh realities of the world when Monica shares that, in some places, the high cost of medical treatment is so overwhelming that people can't afford it. She suspects that she was targeted for speaking out about the issue. Lucille is worried for her safety, but is unsure if she's truly out of danger. Monica mentions a powerful healer, Bakuli, as being involved, which only makes Lucille more concerned, especially for Monica's safety at the Healers Guild. He suggests she stay at the Adventurers Guild for safety, and though Monica is hesitant, she agrees to the plan. Lucille is relieved that he could help Monica, but the experience makes him realize how fragile life can be in this world. Despite this, he remains determined to continue helping others. Monica, grateful for Lucille's kindness, thanks him deeply. Later, when the man who attacked Monica is caught, there's no clear evidence linking him to Bakuli, and the case remains unresolved. Monica decides to stay at the Adventurers Guild, feeling comfortable and safe among the guild members, and life returns to normal. However, things take a turn when Broad urgently calls for Lucille's help. Adventurers have been injured in a monster attack, and Lucille jumps into action. The situation is critical, with one adventurer severely wounded, another poisoned, and another in critical condition. Lucille uses all of his healing skills to stabilize the injured, working tirelessly. Though exhausted, he doesn't stop until he's certain the adventurers are out of immediate danger. Broad praises his efforts, but Lucille feels a deep sadness for the ones he couldn't save. This experience strengthens his resolve to continue improving. Later, Lucille reflects on his year of training and examines his progress. While he has made some improvements, he feels like he hasn't advanced as much as he had hoped. Broad reassures him, saying he's improving, but Lucille still feels there's more work to be done. Lucille admits that he still struggles to predict Broad's attacks and land any hits. His only spells are healing and curing, which limits his abilities. Broad explains that their skills and experience are on different levels, but reassures Lucille that he's made impressive progress in just 1 year. Lucille feels confident enough to at least escape from monsters if necessary. Broad suggests joining the Adventurers Guild, pointing out that even Monica is working there as a receptionist. Lucille, however, has different plans. He wants to save money, learn new spells, and become more skilled in healing, so he can save more lives. His ultimate goal is to open an affordable healing clinic. Broad is impressed by Lucille's ambition and supports his decision, praising his determination. Lucille is ready to continue his journey and faces the future with confidence. Lucille stood in front of the Healers Guild, feeling nostalgic as he gazed at it. Though he was a healer, he had spent most of his time at the Adventurers Guild. He smiled and greeted Kura-san, the receptionist, who seemed a bit down. She sighed and shared her frustration with Lucille, explaining how she had been struggling to find new help since he had taken Monica to the Adventurers Guild. Lucille tried to lighten the mood, reminding her that Monica was safe now. After handing in his guild renewal card, Kururu returned with concern, asking Lucille about his risky training. Lucille hesitated, but eventually admitted that he had been living at the Adventurers Guild, focusing on self-defense training to improve his holy magic. He explained that practical experience was more important to him than earning money, and Kururu understood his reasoning. Lucille apologized for any misunderstanding, and Kururu smiled, acknowledging his dedication. As the conversation shifted, Lucille was shocked to learn that upgrading his rank to C would cost 90 silver coins. Just as he was about to worry about the expenses, Broad entered and offered to cover his transfer to the Adventurers Guild for a year, along with wages. Lucille agreed to the transfer, reassured by Broad's support. At the Adventurers Guild, Lucille was teased by some adventurers, but he ignored them, focusing on his goal to learn more magic. Later, Broad reminded him that he was now a temporary employee of the guild, and there would be a welcome party in his honor. At the party, Lucille reluctantly led a toast, but the drink he had to down was so awful that everyone mocked him. Despite the teasing, Lucille tried to stay positive, wishing for everyone's safety and happiness. Later, during a conversation with Bazan, Lucille shared that he had been focused on survival training for the past year, leaving little time for anything else. Bazan jokingly teased him about his disinterest in women, and Lucille, embarrassed, explained that his attention was elsewhere. The conversation took a strange turn when Sekhiroth joined in, joking about Lucille's preferences. Lucille, flustered, brushed it off, but was also curious about what Sekhiroth was suggesting about the city's nightlife. The teasing continued, but Lucille couldn't help but feel intrigued by the possibilities. Lucille returned to the Adventurers Guild and was greeted warmly by Monica, who seemed genuinely happy to see him. However, Lucille felt a bit uneasy, wondering if she had overheard something she shouldn't have. Monica asked if he was happy with his choice to come here, and Lucille returned the question, to which he excitedly confirmed that she was happy, especially because she got to spend time with him. Meanwhile, Bakuli, who ran the biggest clinic in Maritoni, was facing difficulties as his clinic's income had dropped. He learned that a healer linked to the Adventurers Guild might be the cause. When he saw Lucille, he approached him aggressively, calling him an impudent brat. Bakuli demanded that Lucille leave the Adventurers Guild and work at his clinic, but Lucille firmly refused. Bakuli was enraged, but tried to force his decision, blaming Lucille for his clinic's troubles. Lucille calmly responded that a healer's purpose was to save lives, and his clinic's bad reputation was likely the reason for the loss in patients. Later, Lucille had a conversation with Bakuli about healing magic. Bakuli boasted about his use of high heal, a powerful magic that came at a high price. Lucille, questioning the ethics of overcharging patients, warned that such practices would only lead to resentment. Bakuli, dismissing Lucille's concerns, shared his perspective on the struggles of being a healer, but Lucille still believed that helping people should come first. Lucille's challenge to Bakuli's way of running his clinic only fueled Bakuli's anger, and the situation grew tense. Lucille found himself in a life-threatening situation when Lord Bakuli ordered his men to kill him. However, just in time, Instructor Broad intervened, stopping the guards and forcing Bakuli to back down. Lucille was immensely relieved, thanking Broad for saving his life. Broad, remaining calm, warned Lucille that some people might target him to gain favor with Bakuli. In response, Broad decided to stop training Lucille as a healer and instead begin his gladiator training, preparing him for the challenges ahead. Lucille, unsure of what to think, followed Broad's orders, though he worried about the tough training to come. Broad's methods were strict, pushing Lucille beyond his limits. During their training, Lucille learned that strength wasn't just about numbers or stats. It was about real skill and the ability to survive in difficult situations. Broad made it clear that focusing on skill, not just stats, was the key to surviving real battles. Over time, Lucille's training intensified as he learned martial arts, swordsmanship, spearmanship, and magic. He began to understand that survival was about being prepared for anything, even when it meant enduring pain. Meanwhile, Bakuli, frustrated with Lucille's rising success, plotted to remove him from his position by using his influence in the Healers Guild. Despite the challenges, Lucille continued to train hard, trusting Broad's guidance as he moved forward on his path to becoming stronger. 6 months had passed since Lucille's conversation with Bakuli, the head of the largest clinic in town, and his friends, Gulgar and Broad, couldn't help but notice how much he had changed. Lucille had undergone intense physical training, so much so that no one could tell he was a healer anymore. Gulgar pointed out that healers usually didn't train for combat, but Lucille had proven them wrong. Lucille, still adjusting to his transformation, shared that he had even started to overcome his fear of blades, which had been a major hurdle in his training. During their conversation, Nanala entered and handed Lucille a letter from the Holy Church of Shirul. It was a request for him to transfer to their headquarters. Lucille realized that Bakuli had likely orchestrated this, trying to remove him from the Adventurers Guild's protection. Despite his confusion about the transfer, Lucille knew he still had half a year to continue his training before any changes took place. However, Lucille's exhaustion was becoming noticeable, and he admitted to running out of magic. Gulgar quickly stepped in, offering him a strange drink to help him recover. Despite his initial hesitation, Lucille drank it and immediately felt something unusual. Gulgar assured him it would help him regain some of his magic. Meanwhile, Broad and Gulgar discussed their own progress. Gulgar noticed how much stronger Broad had become, and they joked about the mysterious drink's effects on Lucille. They also discussed the challenges Lucille faced in his training, wondering how far he could push himself. As their conversation continued, Galba entered the room and shared updates about the situation with Bakuli and the Healers Guild. He revealed that money was flowing into the guild's head, prompting them to investigate further. Despite his retirement, Galba decided to take action and put the competition out of business. He also acknowledged Lucille's potential, noting that he had proven himself serious by joining their guild. The conversation lightened as the group joked about Lucille's romantic life, with Gulgar teasing Broad about whether Galba would train Lucille in the future. They also laughed about Lucille's strange reputation, calling him the Maso Zombie due to his odd behavior. Lucille and Broad had a serious conversation in the training hall. Lucille confirmed he was heading to the Holy City, but feared the consequences of disobeying the Pope's orders. Broad, knowing the church might not be what it seemed, suggested that if things went wrong, Lucille should escape and return. Lucille, not intending to confess his love, had called Brod to ask for a favor. He shared his concern about how adventurers often couldn't afford treatment at clinics, leading to more injuries and deaths. He asked Brod to start a training course for rookies, teaching them not only basic skills, but also important survival tactics, such as monster hunting and identifying medicinal herbs. Lucille believed this would help adventurers avoid injury and reduce the strain on clinics. Brod was surprised by his request, but agreed to think about it. Lucille explained that, although he was a healer, he was more of an adventurer at heart and wanted to create a system to help others succeed. Before they parted, Brod asked if Lucille felt stronger under his training, and Lucille acknowledged his mental growth over the past 2 years, though he still had much to learn. As they were about to leave, Brod asked about Monica, someone they were considering bringing into the guild. Lucille assured him that he was responsible for Monica's safety, and it was probably best to keep her there. They then saw Monica and Nanala nearby, and Lucille took the chance to thank them both. He expressed deep gratitude to Monica for her support and to Nanala for her help during tough times, especially with his training. Monica smiled, but Nanala, more formal, said Lucille was an inspiration to the beast folk. Lucille, his heart full, thanked them both for everything, acknowledging how they had been his anchor during tough times. Monica, confused, asked what Lucille meant, and Lucille explained that saving Monica had given him the strength to push through difficult challenges. Lucille was filled with gratitude for his friends as he reflected on the journey they had shared. He had grown close to them over the past 2 years, not just as people he had helped, but as true companions. As he prepared to leave, he promised to stay strong and work hard, hoping that one day they could all share a meal together again. His friends, Nanala and Monica, supported him with smiles, understanding the challenges he had faced and the goals he still had. As time passed, Lucille made progress, reaching rank E in his Adventurers Guild. His mentor, Brod, shared a lighthearted moment with him, teasing him about his training. Lucille's confidence grew, and he was proud of how far he had come. Before he left, Brod gave him a magical bag as a parting gift and reminded him of his promise to return. Despite the jokes and teasing, Lucille felt a deep sense of pride and emotion as he prepared to move on. Lucille left with a sense of determination, knowing he was about to face new challenges on his own. As he set off, he met new companions, including Basura and Sekhiroth, who welcomed him with playful teasing. Lucille, feeling both nervous and excited, was surprised by a reminder from Monica about a promise they had made. With a mixture of confusion and amusement, Lucille realized the journey ahead was filled with new experiences, and his story was just beginning.